So apparently, the Republican Party is just now finding out that Mike Johnson might not be the mastermind that they thought he was. Shocker. We're facing what may very well be the longest government shutdown in history. Trump's tariffs are wrecking farm states, and Mike's over here acting like it's above his pay grade to, actually do something. No, he's literally making every excuse in the book to avoid calling the House back into session, and a lot of his Republican colleagues are starting to lose patience.
I see the shutdown completely different from maybe my party leadership. And I'm not putting the blame on the president. I'm actually putting the blame on the speaker and Leader Thune in the Senate. We control the House. We control the Senate. We have the White House. I've been vocal saying, you can use the nuclear option in the Senate. This doesn't have to be a shutdown. I absolutely support the president. I campaigned for him for years. But I'm also an action person, and I want my party to solve problems.
And you say he's not getting good advice, though. You told Monty Raju. What specifically?
Well, I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms.
Yeah, I think this is the start of Republicans starting to lose it. Marjorie Taylor Greene may be one of the only ones speaking out publicly, but a lot of GOP members are calling out Mike Johnson's poor leadership behind the scenes. They're saying they have no clue what the plan is, because there is no plan. Johnson's biggest move lately has been to disappear and hope prayer fixes everything. Which, I don't know, that might work for his morning devotionals, but it certainly does not keep the government funded. This whole shutdown mess is something he could easily fix. All he needs to do is actually sit down with the Democrats and compromise. It's not that hard. But he's being directed by Big Daddy Kanks to not even talk to Democrats. So instead of heading to the negotiating table, he'd rather run to Fox News and lie about what the Democrats are actually asking for.
And they would send $500 million to liberal news outlets by refunding the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It would also restore up to $5 billion of American taxpayer funds for wasteful spending for international projects. Here's a couple of examples. This is in their legislation, their counterproposal on the CR to keep the lights open. This is what they want to do. They want to spend $24.6 million of your hard-earned dollars as a taxpayer for climate resilience in Honduras. They want to spend $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe. They want to send $3.9 million for LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Western Balkans.
Okay, enough. I can't even. Where the fuck does he even get this BS from? The sad part is that there's actual Americans who are actually going to believe what's coming out of his mouth right here. So to set the record straight, the Democrats are literally only asking to extend the ACA healthcare subsidies so millions of people's healthcare plans don't double or triple in cost at the end of the year when they're set to expire. That's it. Here's a more in-depth explanation.
This is what the Democrats have been making a stink about. You've heard, Democrats are concerned in the shutdown fight about healthcare costs and health insurance, and you think, Democrats are always concerned about health costs. That's nice. I care about health costs. I'm glad they're standing up for it. No, it's this specific thing. You want to know what the Democrats are making a stink about with the shutdown? You want to know what the Democratic side is of the fight over the shutdown? Look at these numbers from the New York Times tonight. Look at this. This is for the tens of millions of Americans who get their health insurance through the online marketplaces. Look. Based on the newly posted information, meaning the pricing information that's now being posted in multiple states, a family of four making $130,000 in Maine, so you combine the family's income, everybody's salaries, you got up to $130,000, that family would face an increase in their annual health insurance premiums next year of $16,100. That's how much their health insurance premiums would go up. But maybe that's, that sounds like it's a fairly well-off family. And you think, oh, well, maybe that doesn't apply to me. I'm not quite in that kind of a bracket. Well, imagine you're in a couple. You're each 60 years old. And you put both your salaries together combined. You make $85,000 a year. So maybe one of you is making $40,000 a year. Maybe one of you is making $45,000 a year. Combined, your couple's income is $85,000 a year. In Maryland, your insurance premium is going to go up by $13,700. In Minnesota, your insurance is going to go up by $15,500. In Nevada, it's going to go up by $18,100. In Kentucky, the increase for you guys as a couple will be that you are expected to pay an additional $23,700 per year.
Yeah, so I think that says it all. Republicans don't want to extend the subsidies and are willing to keep the government shut down over it. And also probably, the Epstein files, but that's another video. Over in the Senate, they voted like 14 times at this point on a funding bill, and every single time it fails because they need 60 votes. Republicans only have 53 GOP senators, so they do need 7 Democrats to vote for it too. But newsflash, it ain't gonna happen unless they're getting something out of it too. That's how negotiations work. So that's why I don't think this shutdown is going to end anytime soon. They're all too stubborn and immature. But at least the Senate is actually working. The House has been on recess. The Senate voted on and passed a bill to end Trump's new tariffs because they're crushing small businesses and farmers in the U.S. But Mike Johnson won't even let the House vote on it. In fact, the House actually passed a resolution saying Congress shouldn't even have the power anymore under Article 1 to control tariffs. So now whatever Trump decides to do with tariffs, the House basically tied its own hands. They can't even vote to stop him. Imagine being so scared of making Trump mad that you give away your own constitutional power. And those farm state Republicans, they are fuming because these tariffs are wrecking their economies. From everything from soybeans to corn, equipment sales, all down in sales. You've got lawmakers from Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, all whispering that their voters are getting crushed. Some are even breaking ranks publicly, which is a rare sight to see. They're basically saying like, hey, we support Trump and all, but this is killing our states, which is going to kill their re-election chances. And they don't like that. And Mike Johnson is just sitting there pretending like he can't hear them. Now he's starting to lose everyone. The Freedom Caucus think he's gone soft. The moderates think he's gone rogue. And the MAGA crowd, they've moved on. He's not even loud enough or loyal enough to keep their attention. Mike Johnson literally went from MAGA golden boy to guy nobody wants to sit with at lunch in record time. And with this shutdown dragging on at day 33, with no end in sight, even Republicans are starting to ask if maybe it's time for a new speaker. If maybe it's time for new leadership. The GOP is slowly turning on him, and honestly, he's doing half of the work for them. So remember, if this whole thing collapses, it's not the Democrats. It's not the deep state. It's just bad Republican leadership across the board. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit my first 1,000 subscribers. Until next time.